Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dairy Deep Dive. We are going to get started in just a little bit, but first, we are joined by Lisa Graybiel. She is Deputy Secretary from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. So let's give her a warm welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. Deputy Secretary of Ag is kind of a long title, but actually, I'm a third generation dairy farmer. My brother and I are farming in southern Lancaster County. We milk about 820 cows on 1,500 acres. But I'm excited to be here today at Oakleigh because they have a robotic facility, and it's really fascinating to see how this works. And we do not, my farm we have a totally different way of milking our cows. So it's exciting to be involved with this today. Pennsylvania agriculture is a $132.5 billion industry, and it provides more than 500,000 jobs. But I think maybe some of you might think, when you think in terms of an agriculture job, you think, oh, I want to, I'm going to be farming, or I'm going to be out milking a cow. And it's really, it is that, but it's so much more. I think I'm going to go through a couple of careers that even you might not think, you might not make that correlation with that career in agriculture. For example, I'm a dairy farmer, but now I'm working for the government. I'm an employee for the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, where we help try to set policy and help with the legislators understand agriculture and draw up bills and maneuver agriculture through our governmental process. Now, a lot of you might think, well, I really do like animals. So there's veterinary medicine, there's research in that. Farmers have to give their animals medicines once in a while. Animals get sick. We have vaccinations. So there's the biology, chemistry side of it, and research side of it, and creating and finding new ways to keep our animals healthy. On our farms, we're just running equipment constantly, whether we're putting in our forages for our animals, or as you'll see, Oakleigh with all of their robotics, there's a lot of mechanics and technology involved. Well, they break down, nothing's perfect. So we need mechanics, we need equipment operators, we need people who know machinery and diesel. So we need people to work on these machines for us. Also, I mentioned keeping our animals healthy with nutrition and veterinary science, but we have to feed our animals. We have to feed them well to keep them healthy and to keep them feeling good. So we hire nutritionists on our farms to balance their rations and to see what they need to produce the milk or the feed that we need to be healthy ourselves as humans. Now, some of you might think, this doesn't really fit me. I'm not really interested in that. I'm going to law school, or, hey, I'm good with numbers. I have no clue about agriculture. I'm going to be an accountant. But you know what? On our farm, we actually use accountants, and we've used attorneys in the past who specialize in agriculture. So there's a lot of tax law and things that are different in agriculture, and people in accounting and attorneys specialize in agriculture, taxes and accounting and numbers and law issues. How do we get our feed and our food from the fields to our grocery stores and to our consumers, to our kitchen tables? Transportation plays a huge role. Just the logistics of getting our food from farm to fork. How do we do that? There's people who are making that happen, whether you're actually in transportation or you're organizing it or hiring people to do that. We have a big need in getting the logistics worked out for getting our food to our consumers. Of course, we can't talk this day and age without climate change coming into the conversation. We have climate change environmental issues, all lead back to agriculture. So there are so many opportunities in the environmental sector now through agriculture. So I could go on and on. You could probably give me a career choice and I could probably link it to agriculture somehow, but we really can't talk about agriculture anymore these days without talking about technology. And as I'm sitting here in my office in Harrisburg right now, my family is actually back on our farm planting corn. It's planting corn time, and we're having some beautiful days to do it. But you know, we're planting our corn right now. We don't even have to steer our tractor. We have a lot of equipment that runs off of GPS now, and we download information onto our laptop computers, and everything is automated. So precision agriculture, genomics, opening the door for artificial intelligence, all of these technological things come into play even in agriculture. So, hey, maybe you like to be outdoors and working with animals, and you think maybe farming can be a career, but there's so many other careers out there that could be connected with agriculture. So today you will get to see a real life dairy farm. You're going to be able to hear and see of all the skills and the jobs that are needed on this farm. Farms like Oakleigh are crucial to the state in getting food on the table for you and your families. So as you participate in today's tour, I really want you to take some time to think about your interests and, you know, how could they be related to agriculture? Ask questions today. Farmer Matt is really great at answering questions, and I'll be along too. So if you have anything for me, let me know. We just want you to keep exploring the various opportunities in agriculture. So thank you to the Friends of Ag Foundation and Oakleigh Farms for hosting the event today, and let's take the tour. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's a great connection, and make sure to think about those as we go along. So with that, let's take a look over at the farm.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Amy Leslie. I am with American Dairy Association Northeast. I am privileged and proud to work on behalf of dairy farmers in this region and specifically in Pennsylvania. And I am excited to be here with you all and with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau and the Friends of Ag Foundation to have a virtual live farm tour of Oakleigh Farm. Just as a quick reminder, please submit all of your questions via the Q&A box. We will turn the chat off during the tour, but throw those questions in the Q&A. As Lisa mentioned, Matt is great about answering questions as we go, and Cassidy will relay all of those to him through us. And real quick, before we go and find Farmer Matt, we want to thank the Grable Foundation for their support of the Remake Learning Days for events just like this that we're hosting here today, but also the more than 500 events from across the Commonwealth Remake Learning Days. So thanks so much for that. We're excited to be here and on this very deep dive, a little bit more technology focused here at Oakleigh Farm. So let's go find Farmer Matt. You down?
Well, morning, afternoon, it's kind of that awkward part of the day. So my name is Matt Briggs. Here at Oakleigh Farm, the farm's run by my parents, the farm's run by my parents, Lennon, Karen, Briggs, and then I'm the next generation up and coming, along with some of my siblings and everything. So in total, we farm around 400 acres. All of that's used to grow crops from corn, soybeans, small grains like barley and wheat that we use for feed for the cows and part of our grain mixes and everything. And then in total, we milk 120 cows here, or I guess I should appropriately say the robot milk 120 cows. So kind of a good transition here. We'll let a cow step on in. She might be a little camera shy. But a little bit of background on how we got to where we are. So in December of 2019, unfortunately, we had a barn fire. Thankfully, we didn't lose any animals, and there was a neighboring farm just 3 miles up the road here that had an empty barn and a functioning melting parlor that we could go into for the 7-month period. So we decided to rebuild and come back in. And as we started looking at our options and things, you know, our parlor was still intact, but it was built back in the 1950s. So it had been around for a good many years and needed some updating and things. So we started looking and had been looking at robots and realized that it was going to be a great fit and provide us with a lot of different opportunities to kind of take our operation to the next step. So the cow, she just walked in here. These are the Oakleigh Astronaut A5. They're the latest generation of automatic milking robot from Oakleigh. Right now, the brushes are underneath the cow doing the initial brush. So this is just cleaning any of the dirt and debris off the bottom of the udder and the teats. And you see it just goes back and forth, getting all the teats. There is a camera that's up at the top of the cow watching her back and her position forward and back within the robot. The cow also is wearing a collar that IDs her. So this cow is 279. Her name is Beauty. The robot remembers where the teats were for about the last week for this cow. And that's what it's working off of right now, is its memory as it's brushing each teat. You saw the brushes came out, got sanitized. Now we're going back under, brushing each teat once and blow drying it. So we have a good, clean, dry teat to attach to. Once all 4 teats are ready, you see a laser comes on just to verify the position of the teats. And one at a time, the robot goes up and attaches. Once we get milk flow out of all the quarters, we sanitize the brushes again so they're good and clean for the next cow. And so the milk flows through all the hoses here. There is a weigh jar right here in the center of the robot where all the milk is stored. While the cow is in the robot, we're collecting 125 data points per milking. In total, we're milking right around, like I said, 120. There's 110 in the barn right now. What's kind of unique is some things up here on the screen. So we can see the robot thinks this cow will be in for 4.5 minutes. The cows are given a pellet while they're in the robot. It's kind of like a candy that entices them to come in. So between wanting to be milked and the pellet, the cow will come in. On average, our cows are coming in somewhere between 2.8 to 3 milkings a day. We can see here the robot is looking for this cow to give 10.6 pounds. So far, she's given 9.2. This cow's a little later in her lactation. She is getting ready to be dried off, which is a term we use to give them a little break from milking prior to having her next calf. Once the cow's done, she is sprayed with a disinfectant on the teats to prevent any diseases. The milkers are rinsed out between every cow. Gates will open. The next cow will come on in. And wash, rinse, and repeat. Cows have 24/7 access to the robots. So we can see here this cow is expected to give around 32 pounds this visit.
Yeah, how much total do they give a day and how many gallons?
So currently on our farm, we are averaging right around about 83 to 85 pounds per cow per day. And to put that in perspective of gallons, a gallon of milk weighs right around 8.6 pounds. So just shy of 10 gallons per day per cow. Yeah, so here in our barn, you'll see a little bit more on the other side. We're milking with 2 robots. So they work in conjunction. Cows have access to either of them and can come and go as they please. So a question we get a lot is, how do you train the cows to use the robot? So take the cow anywhere between 3 days and a week whenever she's first introduced to the robot to figure it out. But once she figures it out, she knows there's a treat in there for her and that she wants to be milked. So she'll come in. We actually have what we call as refusals, where a cow comes in prior to being eligible to be milked. And so the robot will let her out and say, no, I'm not going to milk you yet. She's just looking for an extra little treat from maybe the cow before didn't eat everything. And so it'll let her out. One of the cows, actually, it was a cow that walked in right as we started this tour. Her claim to fame is one day she had 43 refusals and about 5 milkings. So cows can come in the robot up to 6 times a day, depending on their production and how much milk they're giving. So if you want to follow me, we're going to walk on through. This is our office area, our milk tank and everything here.
This is where the milk goes.
Yeah, so the milk flows through the pipelines and comes in the milk tank. We are using a plate cooler prior to the milk arriving in the milk tank. So the plate cooler works just like a radiator. So we're using water to pre-cool that milk. So the milk comes out of the cow right around 100 degrees, which body temp for a cow is 101. We're actually cooling milk down to about 60 degrees using the well water. And then there's a cooling unit on the milk tank then that stores milk at 37 degrees. As the milk truck driver comes, so we get picked up every other day, he comes, collects the milk. The robots keep milking. There's actually another mini milk tank in the corner that as the milk truck is picking up the milk, the robots automatically divert the milk into the little mini tank there. And then after the tank is cleaned and sanitized, milk automatically flows into the milk tank where, like I said, stored at 37 degrees for 2 days.
Then where does your milk go after the
So a lot of our milk, we belong to a co-op called Maryland and Virginia. They market our milk and have a couple different processing plants. So our milk primarily goes and gets bottled through a company called Mayola. So that's seen a lot in Food Line. Also, Costco is another bottling plant. So if you see those, you have your typical gallon jug, but then Costco will carry an oddly shaped jug. It's called a crateless gallon milk jug. And so that's another processing plant. Our co-op also just recently bought a plant down in North Carolina that has an agreement with Tillamook. So some of other producers' milk that ship through Maryland, Virginia is marketed under the Tillamook ice cream brand.
good time of year for ice cream?
It's supposed to be 85 degrees here today, so ice cream is definitely on the list of treats here. So here, these calves were some that were just born recently. Behind them there are our cows that are getting ready to have their calves. And so we keep them in the barn here so we can keep a close eye on them. And once they're born, we have them in a pen here. These guys are waiting for their individual hutches where they'll be moved up and we can take care of them then on up the way there. So we are a 100% registered Holstein herd, although you'll see we got 2 different styles of Holsteins. We have the red and white Holstein and the black and white Holstein. The main difference is just it's a recessive trait in their genetics. So if you ask your science teachers about how we breed for that in some of the cows.
Beginning of life for these calves?
So as soon as a calf is born, we go ahead and take the cow through the robot. Whenever she goes in, we collect her colostrum. So colostrum is the first milk the cow gives. That's packed with antibodies and good immune boosters for the calf. So helps the calf get off to its best start. We also have a vaccination program and a vitamin program that we work with our vet to develop, just to give these calves the boost they need and help them get a great start to life. And you'll notice cows are curious in nature.
Big are they when they're first born?
So typically, Holstein calf is right around 100 pounds. The one you're seeing right here, she's a touch on the small side. She was only about 85 to 90 pounds whenever she was born, but she'll grow up. Our average dairy cow weighs right around 1,600 pounds. And it's kind of crazy to think that it only takes a calf about 2 hours from the time it's born to whenever it starts walking, compared to us, where some of us, it takes a little bit longer than a year. So we'll go ahead and head around to the other side of the barn.
We had a question come through. Do the calves nurse from their mothers or do they get bottle fed?
So typically we do bottle feed the calf. That way we can ensure that that calf is getting the amount of milk it needs so that it can continue to grow up and be healthy. So we do have our robot bin here. This is where the pellet is stored for the cows. And so over here is kind of the, you could call it almost the business end of the barn too. So this is our feeding alley, except what's kind of unique for our operation is we have a robotic feeder as well. So this is actually Gordon, affectionately named Gordon after Chef Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay, because of the whole mixing cooking aspect. So he keeps the cows fed on the cows' needs. So as the cows eat more feed, he has a laser, which you'll see as he comes around here, that measures how much feed is at the feed bunk and then delivers feed as the cows need and as they're more active throughout the day. So this pen here is called our special needs pen. So this is where we do all of our cow touches. So anything we need to do with the cow, check the health of the cow and things like that, the robots can automatically sort. So you'll notice the cow up here, as she's eating, she has a collar around her neck. So like I said earlier, this collar identifies the cow in the robot, so the robot knows who's in the robot, but it also is tracking her eating minutes. So right now, the collar can tell that she's eating and is tracking those. And then after she's done eating, it'll track her rumination minutes and also her overall activity. How much is she laying down? How much is she coming up and getting fed? How much is she just moving around in general? All of those things are then compiled into the computer system. Lately's called Horizon. And that gives us an indication of the animal's overall health. Essentially just a Fitbit for the cow. Hope your screens are clean now. Cows are just very curious in nature. So you also see the cow has an ear tag. That's just a herd identification system. So we can track this animal, although we name them, we also have the numbers. That's an easier way for us to track and record all the pertinent information on this cow and milk production, calving history, and everything like that. So here Gordon comes, has a skirt on the bottom that pushes up the feed into the cows, keeps it within close reach. So he determined earlier that this group of cows needs fed. So you see his door will come up and he'll start a dosing roller, which dispenses the feed. As was mentioned earlier, we work with our nutritionalists to get a well-balanced ration. Cows have certain nutritional needs, and depending on what forages we're feeding, determine certain amounts and any additives and vitamin and mineral supplements we need to add. Gordon has weigh scales on him, and he knows typically, right now I'm loaded up for 1,300 pounds. On average, a dairy cow will eat somewhere around 100 to 110 pounds of forage per day. So in total, Gordon feeds our barn around 17 times a day. So right now, our ration, our mixed ration, is made up of primarily corn silage, but we also have a little bit of wheatlage in there. We just are harvesting that now, and then pretty soon here, after we're done doing the tours today, I'm gonna jump in our mower and we're gonna start mowing some alfalfa haylage, and we'll add that to the ration. We also have 2 different grain mixes that's comprised of soybeans, corn, a little bit of barley and wheat, and some minerals. All that gets mixed. That way, every bite the cow takes is a balanced nutritional bite.
Only bottom teeth and a little bit about the four compartments.
So it was kind of unique. This is the second virtual tour we've done today. The earlier tour was was primarily based for elementary school students. And one of the questions that came through was, how many teeth does a dairy cow have? And I'll admit, I didn't know the answer. So thankfully we looked that up there. And the answer is an adult cow has 32 teeth. What's kind of unique though, is cows only have teeth on the bottom and then back in their jaw. Because they're ruminants and they're eating a forage-based diet, and as you can see, we pre-chop everything as we harvest it. They don't need teeth like we have or like dogs and cats have. So cows have 4 stomachs. That way, the whole point of being a ruminant is she's coming up, she's getting her bite of feed, she swallows it. After she's had enough here, she's going to go back and lay down, and she'll just regurgitate that feed. And she'll do that a couple different times. You'll see her back there. She'll spit it up, chew it around a few more times, swallow it, and her stomach just keeps processing and processing that.
How they can eat things that we can't.
Although I will say I love the smell of fresh corn silage and fresh cut alfalfa. Sometimes it is tempting to just take a bite. So you can see Gordon is feeding the rest of the cows here. He has different rations for the cows that are getting ready to calve versus the cows that are milk cows, and he knows that. He has through a PLC controller, he turns on and off our silos. So we operate silos here, but he can work with any type of feeding system, whether it's ag bags or trenches. It's quite a flexible system. So you can see he's dispensed some fresh feed here. Cows are coming up and getting that fresh meal. Kind of like, I swear, I have a 6th sense of whenever my mom bakes cookies. And I always end up at the house right about the time she pulls that first tray out so I can get the fresh, warm cookies. The cows know whenever Gordon's coming out and feeding, and you'll see them start to come up and eat that fresh feed. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's very quiet in the barn. Robot barns in general are typically quiet barns. But the other thing that helps with that are actually these fans. So they're known as high volume, low speed fans, HVLS. They're variable speed control, and the curtains on the sidewall of the barn are also controlled by that controller. So depending on the air temperature, the wind speed and direction, if there's any precip, the curtains can open all the way like they are now on this beautiful day, and the fans are spinning at full speed. So even though it's probably about 80 degrees outside, there where the cows are laying down and resting, it's right around 70 or maybe a touch under. As you can see, the cows are nice and comfortable. We're known what's as a compost bedded pack facility. So the bedding they're laying on is sawdust, and we go through about twice a day and we rototill that and stir it up. And then the fans help dry the top of the bedding off. So to take care of the manure in the scrape alley, we have 2 units called the collectors. So just like some of you might have a Roomba running around your house, our cows also have a Roomba. Affectionately, these guys are known as Mario and Luigi. So Mario right now, or excuse me, Luigi right now is sitting here at his charger station. He just got done running. They run 12 times a day throughout the barn. Each of them has a respective half of the barn to take care of. So Luigi's charging and Mario just fired up at the other end of the barn. We store the manure here on the farm, and then we actually take it out and spread it on the fields. It has a lot of good nutrients for the field to help the crops grow, and provided we get the amount of rain we need, produce enough forage for our cows.
Water, something, what?
So one of the nice things about the robot barn, cows have free access to the robots. They can come up here and get feed anytime they want. They can go back and lay down. We have water troughs throughout the barn so that they can drink as much water as they need.
If any of your robotic equipment requires maintenance, do you do your own maintenance or do you call out a specialist?
So we do a combination of two. Being farmers, we like to try to fix as much on farm as we possibly can. And our dealership actually will train us too and help guide us through. There's a phone number I can call. I can call one of the technicians and they'll help guide me through over the phone as much as possible. But if need be, they can come out and somebody is on call 24/7 to assist us if something happens in the middle of the night, because the cows are getting milked 24/7. They're getting fed 24/7. So somebody's able to pick up the phone and keep us running.
All the information that you get from the robots, where does that get stored? How do you access it? That kind of stuff.
So this is one of the things, I'm a little bit of a techie. We're collecting a lot of information on these cows and through their production and analyzing their health. So Laylee has a computer software called Horizon that throws an app on my phone so I can access it anywhere, even if I'm out on the road or visiting friends elsewhere. I can even kind of take a peek into the barn and see what the cows are doing, see who might need a little bit of attention. Maybe she's not feeling quite as good. And all of that's presented in a nice, easy to understand way. So the one thing I haven't really touched on yet is actually the cow brushes. Right now, there's nobody up since Gordon just pushed up some feed and everything. Nobody's using them, but cows can come up, bump them with their head, and they'll start to rotate, give their backs a good scratch in their head. I've noticed the cows, I think, are having a competition of how many can use a brush at once. So far, I think my record is right about 5. Had a couple in the scrape alley and then even a couple over in the bed pack were reaching over and getting the bottoms of their chins scratched.
What's the benefit to having robots part of a management?
So robots provide a lot of different benefits, and kind of why we elected to go that route. We are a family farm, so the primary workers here are my dad, myself, my grandfather, even though he's 87, He's still actively involved in taking care of some of our heifers and things. And then I do have some other siblings that have full-time jobs elsewhere that whenever they're not working, they'll come and help too. But the robots kind of took the place of another person or two, but also help us take better care of the cows. So because the cow has 24/7 access to getting milk, like I said before, cows are on average getting milk close to 3 times a day, some of them closer to 5 or 6. The robots also give us a little bit of a more flexible lifestyle. So as we're getting the crops in, timing is a huge thing in putting away the most nutritious feed you can. So instead of us having to stop working out in the fields to go milk the cows because we didn't have enough help to milk and work in the fields, we can keep working in the fields, and then we can come in and take care of our cow work later on in the evening, or even just regular family things. So my nephew, he's only 5, just started to play t-ball, and his first game was on Monday night at 6 o'clock. Prior to, whenever we were in our parlor, typically we weren't done milking until about 6 to 6:30 till we cleaned up, and it was about 7 till we would feed calves. So probably would have had to push and tried to make the game or get some extra help lined up. But with the robots, Dad and I were down here working, got most of the work done, went to the t-ball game quick, and then came back and finished up the work after watching my nephew's first game. So that was kind of that's another nice thing about robots. It just gives you that flexibility, but also all the information you're collecting on the cow. And you'll notice the cows, so there's some laying down, there's some up eating, and there's some waiting to go into the robot.
They have to lay.
Yeah, cows are living a comfortable life. We love watching our cows lay down and just chew their cud. So actually, the cow standing here at Luigi, she's just chewing her cud right now. Well, now she's going to come over and say hello.
Do we have any questions coming through?
Not right now. If you want to go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A, that would be helpful. Do you need any?
While we've been talking here, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you need any special skills in order to operate any of the equipment?
Not necessarily. So just a general basic computer knowledge is certainly helpful. You can operate everything for the robots from the desktop, but being able to work the smartphone is helpful too. Dairy farmers stretch a whole couple generations in technological abilities, but the way that the equipment's designed, it's very simple. And if it's something that's above my head or anybody's head, that's where the technicians are around to help. So like I said, we have 2 of the collectors running around. So Mario's coming down here. You'll see that 847 here. She sees him coming, so she backs out of his way. People often ask me, what's your favorite robot? Don't know if I necessarily have a favorite because they all do different jobs and important jobs. But I will say these guys, for the job they do, the conditions they are forced to, that they work in, it's not necessarily the most glamorous job, sucking up manure, but they just work. You can see how clean our scrape alleys are, and that improves the bedding quality and overall cleanliness of the animal. Yeah, if I could train the cows to only go to the bathroom in the scrape alley and at certain spots, it would make my life easier. But cows are messy eaters. They're messy in behind sometimes, but
How old are most of the cows?
so currently, on average, the age of the cow in our barn is right around 4.5 years old. A cow has her first calf right around 2 years of age, and the oldest cow in the barn is actually 14.
And Matt said that the cows usually have a calf around 2 years of age, and they do need to have a calf to start producing milk. So cows are all ready to do that. They have all the things to do that, but they cannot produce milk until they've had a calf. So at 2 years old here on this farm, that's pretty typical on most farms too, that they'll have their first calf at about 2. And that sounds maybe a little young, so to speak, for when we talk about human years. But when you think about it, they're kind of like very, very, very big dogs. So you can, kind of cow years, we equate it to their age in months is about our age in years. So a cow at 2 years old is about 24 months old, and that would be somewhat equivalent to a 24-year-old human having a child, or these cows their first calf. So that's kind of how this works. There, Matt said the calves over there are about 100 pounds when they're first born, so they're already much bigger than us when they get started. So that's kind of they grow a lot quicker and mature a lot quicker that way too.
So as we were going through the decision-making process after the barn fire about how to rebuild and what to rebuild, we had already been looking at robots and knew that they were kind of in our farm's future because of all the benefits, from the farmer flexibility to the overall health of the animal. But one of the unique things, so Penn State Extension has a couple people on staff to assist the farmer in various ways. But one of them is engineering and barn design. So we work with Penn State Extension just on some general barn things to get the best natural ventilation and a few other things just for overall cow comfort and cow flow. So it's kind of a nice resource that farms have through Penn State Extension, whether it's barn design or crop management or even nutrition. A lot of great resources there. Because that's the one thing, a dairy farm, all the day-to-day is on the farmer, but beyond the farmer, there's a whole support system. So from the dealership, like we talked about earlier, that is around 24/7 for service. My veterinarian, as we create treatment and vaccination protocols for the animals, the financial advisors, our bankers that we work with, our crop consultants to make sure our crops we're growing the best potential feed we can, and the nutritionalists for the cows. It's a whole big team, and it takes more than just the farmer. I mean, the farmer wears a lot of hats. He has to wear all these hats on a day-to-day. But it's always nice to have that support system behind him. Kind of another question I get asked is what's a day-to-day like in the life of a robot farmer, especially with all these robots? So typically we'll start our day, we'll come down and we'll work through what we call the fetch cows. So they're cows that haven't been to the robot recently. So they're put on a list, and then we can decide, okay, yeah, let's go out and get the cow so that she is getting milked at least twice a day, and get her through the robot. And then we'll collect milk to feed the calves. We'll just check on everything in general, you know, seeing what cows need certain attention as far as any health concerns they might have. And then also just making sure the robots keep functioning. If the robots do run into an issue, they're actually tied to a phone line that calls us, and it also alerts our phone.
Why, you know, you talked about the barn design and bedded pack. Why is cow comfort so important?
So a comfy cow produces more milk. I love to see cows laying on the bedded pack there, chewing their cud. A cow makes most of her milk whenever she's laying down. And it just aids in the overall health of the animal, giving her the best life she can. I mean, cows really do live a life of luxury, especially cows in a fully robot barn like we've got, where their manure's picked up. They can access the milking robot as often as they want, and the vector delivers feed up to 17 times a day almost in this farm, depending on how much they're eating. What's kind of a unique thing is, as we get into the hot summer months, kind of like the rest of us, we don't want to be as active in the middle of the day whenever it's hot out. And so the cows do the same thing. They like to just sit back and relax under the fans. But then in the middle of the night, as it cools down in the evening, they'll get more active. And so the vector, Gordon, will actually come out and deliver a little bit more feed at night than he would during the day in the middle of the hot summer day.
You get to sleep.
Yep, and I instead of us, our milking schedule used to be 2:30 and 2:30. So 2:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon. I can be a morning person. I actually do miss the morning milking a little bit from time to time. It was a quiet place, and it was just, you know, me and the cows in the parlor. But doing that 7 days a week certainly got old. I don't know if there's any questions that have come in yet.
We don't have any right now.
Maybe to talk a little bit about kind of your education and training,
Yeah.
both formally and informally.
So dairy farming is a lot of on-the-job training. So I'm actually the 4th generation dairyman. So it was my great grandfather that first started milking cows here. And actually prior to that, we were horse traders. So there's a barn over here we call the horse barn that we now keep calves in. And used to buy and sell and trade horses in the area. And then back in 1930 is whenever they started cows. I actually started with 10 Ayrshires. And well, my great grandfather wasn't a huge fan of Ayrshires, so slowly bought in some Holsteins, and we've just since grown the herd there. So I've learned a lot on the farm. I'm very fortunate and blessed that I get to farm beside my grandfather and also my dad, and learn a lot from them, but learn also from the other people that are involved on the operation here. I work very closely with our nutritionalists. I did get a degree from Penn State. I got a 4-year business degree with a focus in marketing and managing, but not necessarily needed. Continuous education is important, and that's what a lot of farmers do. Penn State puts on some great seminars. Our feed companies put on great seminars just so we always learn. Because we like to continue our knowledge so that we can produce the best milk most efficiently. One of the other kind of fun things about our operation is just the depth of knowledge. Like I said, with my grandfather, it's amazing to think. So he's 87 or 88, and he milked in the original tie stall barn, which was how you did it. And before we even had milk tanks and everything, that's where the old milk cans Milkman would come around, pick up your milk cans, and that's where they would distribute it then. But he's grown up with that. He was 17 whenever the parlor was built, which was one of the first parlors in the county, built back in the 1950s. And now to be in this fully automated dairy barn, from the milkers to the collectors, the vector, the curtains and fans. It's amazing to think just in his lifespan, what he's seen. And it's kind of funny. At first, he wasn't too keen on robots or the technology. Like, well, I've done this my whole life. Can a robot really do that same job? Robot almost does it better, if I'm being honest. It's very consistent. That's what cows love. Cows love a life of consistency. And that's where cows that are in a robot herd are nice and quiet. They're up here eating, they're laying down, getting milk, all on their schedule.
So robots have made things easier to a certain extent, but what's the hardest part about being a dairy farmer?
Hardest part of being a dairy farmer. Sometimes the hours can get long. It's not unusual to put in 12, 14, 16, sometimes even 18 hours a day, especially this time of year whenever we're in the middle of planting, like was mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, our tractors don't drive themselves here, but it is one of those things. It's like, ooh, that would be nice sometimes. But yeah, so actually, like I mentioned earlier, after we're done giving tours and things, I'm going to jump on the mower. We're going to mow some hay so that we can chop here this weekend. So sometimes the hours can get long, but then we have those slower times between harvest and in the winter that we can kind of catch up on some other repair work and things around the farm.
What's the best part of being a farmer?
Ooh. It's kind of tough to describe, but it's just that overall feeling of knowing that I'm helping feed the world, essentially. The growing population and the fact that nearly less than 1% of us are farmers, and the amount of effort it takes, it's just very rewarding working with the land, working with the cows, and just educating myself and other consumers too, that we like to be as sustainable as possible and treat the animals and the ground fairly. And that's where I love doing tours like this, because it's great to meet people from other backgrounds. We often get asked a lot, oh, can we come to your barn? Yeah, we open the barn up to dairy farmers and even non-dairy farmers. One of our favorite tours was actually got reached out to from a local retirement village. And they said, hey, I have some residents that would really enjoy coming out, I think. And so they've been out twice so far. And it's just so interesting to hear everybody's background. And something that I forget as a farmer, I'm so connected to agriculture that most people aren't afforded that. It used to be people were only 1 or 2 generations removed from the farm. But I think now we're getting closer to that 4 or 5 mark even, if not more. And so there's a little bit of disconnect. And that's where I love to share our story, especially.
Feel free to chime in with any questions, and as we're getting closer on time, as we wrap up. And if you think of anything afterwards, feel free to send those to our Remake Learning and Friends of Ag Friends and colleagues, and we can definitely answer those questions if you have them.
We don't have any coming through right now.
Okay. No, I just I'm going to challenge everybody a little bit to constantly learn and ask questions. It's amazing how much you can learn from asking dairy farmers or people that are in the industry and uh, learn why they do what they do. Uh, it really is. It's what I grew up with. The farm's been a great place to grow up and learn a lot of life lessons and give myself some flexibility and different career options. And um, as I get more immersed into this and interacting with other people, it is amazing how so many careers are tied with ag. Anything from network and IT. Farms are truly connected operations anymore, and the amount of data we're collecting and analyzing, it's been growing exponentially. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, every time that cow comes in to be milked, 125 data points. So a lot of zeros and ones getting compiled there.
Yeah, it's amazing. You don't have to be a dairy farmer to be in dairy farming. You can be on the processing end. You can be the veterinarian if you like medicine.
The company that services the robots, so Fisher and Thompson, some of their service techs, actually 2 of them, didn't come from a dairy background at all. One, he worked as a welder. The other one actually worked as a mason. So more of those trade backgrounds. But it's kind of unique to see the whole gamut. Half of them didn't go on to college. They stayed or started right away in the career field. Some of them did go to college. Some for a dairy degree, some not. It's just really unique, and to be involved in ag is more than just growing up on the farm. So right now, all the cows are happily fed. The vector, he's just sitting in there right now. He started a 1-hour timer. After an hour, he'll come out, push up feed, and scan using the laser. If nobody needs fed, like I said, he'll come back in for an hour. Otherwise, he'll start up the silos individually and mix up the correct ration.
I was asked last time, but do you have a favorite cow?
I don't necessarily have a favorite cow. Kind of like your parents say, oh, I don't have a favorite kid. That being said, there are some cows that are known for various reasons, including being a little more cantankerous. Like there is one that she enjoys. If I'm not paying attention, she'll sneak up on me and try to grab my beard, and she has been successful a couple different times. Well, I think we're kind of getting close on time, so I just want to say thank you to you all for taking time out of your day. I know this can be kind of a hectic time for you guys as well, but it's great to see that there's interest in learning about operations, and I love showing off the barn, especially considering the amount of technology we have here. So feel free, if there's any additional questions, let us all know, and we'll gladly field them.